Hi Pisces, this is Lee at Fresh Astrology. We are looking at December 2017. What we will focus on here are the two, what I think are some of the most impactful transits going on this month. That would be Saturn moving from Sagittarius into Capricorn at the same time that Mercury is going retrograde in the same area of the chart. And several things are stacked up in this area of the chart, all within this little narrow time frame. So it's more highlighted this month. And then I'm also separately, it's kind of like a separate moving part on your chart. There's Venus at the same timing bookending what Mercury's doing. So there's this little Venus story going on. That will be a separate download on my website, www.freshastrology.com. I also have the 2018 forecast there on my website available as downloads. So, Pisces, we have, during the first 3 weeks of December, the final wrap-up of Saturn in Sagittarius. This is in your 10th house of career, sometimes marriage, sometimes stuff with parents. It's definitely your public life and where you get accolades and recognition often for, in the case of Saturn here, your ability to lead and teach. That you have knowledge that is valued. And you've definitely been learning a lot here. You've been learning even more powerfully during this last 2.5 years how to perhaps be a teacher and a leader. So there's been some skill development here. As you wrap up with Mercury going retrograde over the same area, you're going to be reviewing a lot about the last 2.5 years, reviewing some stuff that's going on, some transitions going on at work, transitions going on in your role at work, revisiting how you think about your role at work, revisiting, reviewing, revising, researching, something about your career direction, which may have to do with an actual place where you work and a role that you hold somewhere, or just your overall, the arc of your career. Where are you going? You're reviewing and revising and revisiting. It's a time when you have a chance to change your mind about maybe accepting a job. Maybe about, you can tweak the direction you're going in a little bit. Whatever that means to you. Like, so Pisces, let's say, you're an actor and you thought that comedy was going to be the thing that you do, and you have a chance to really rethink that, and maybe the direction you want to go in is true after this 2.5 years of learning on the job, developing yourself. Maybe you recognize in December, like, yeah, I can do comedy, but I think I really like dramatic roles. I really like doing character acting and something a little more serious and substantial. That just feels better to me. I don't think I want to, at the expense of doing like the easy thing, the comedy. I don't want to let go of this thing that just feels more substantial to me, that's more serious, or vice versa. Like, I don't want to limit myself by only taking a certain kind of role. I want to be seen more broadly, like I can do a wider range of things. But just somehow, that's just one maybe not so great example, but just kind of reviewing the direction you want to go in a little bit. And this is a time under Mercury retrograde, with Saturn coming through at the same time, with the light of the sun coming in, and Venus even. There's just this moment to really take a look at the situation you find yourself in, which is going to be different for every Pisces. But you have the chance to review before you commit, because that Saturn, there is a sense of commitment or finality. You have a chance to review. There may be, for a number of Pisces, an ending to a position. You may find out as the holidays approach at the end of December that something has ended. There may be some finality here. Finality. It's late at night, so the way I pronounce things gets funny. The tighter I get. But for some Pisces, there may be this sense of completion, that something is ending. Some of you are choosing to end something. Some of you are not choosing to end something. But there may be a sense of finality as you move, you and Saturn kind of move as a piece into this 11th house area. Saturn in the 11th house is not completely a bad place. It may feel at first like you're really changing friend groups, that you first pare down your friends, and then you build on maybe seeking friends who feel more mature or more in line with the way you think. So you may be, over the next 2.5 years, really transitioning who your friends are, and possibly taking your approach to friendship more seriously, and looking for a certain kind of friend or friendship group that suits where you are at this stage in life. That may be because for professional reasons. It may transform your friendship group because maybe you're just associating with a different kind of person because you've gone from one setting into another, from maybe a college setting into a work setting. So suddenly your friends aren't college oriented, they're work oriented. But the theme is maturity and a certain level of capacity for thinking in a way that's able to learn. So, it's just going to be very personalized for each Pisces out there. Pisces is not a huge fan of Saturn, but it doesn't mean you can't work with Saturn, but there's something about Saturn that can feel quite restrictive. So in some ways, I'm trying to think of a way you can work with it. We may have to talk about this more, because in some ways it's going to feel a little cramped and restricted. But the sense of restriction that you felt in your job may loosen up, which is sort of, it's interesting. I'm trying to think of like storylines, like examples I could give you, but nothing's coming to mind right now. Something about your work situation could lighten up, and it could be like a relief. And then as you build your future, rebuild your future, which is what Saturn's going to help you do, and learn how you're going to restructure and plan your future, that becomes an area of emphasis. And I don't want to say heaviness. That's not quite right in the 11th house. It's not exactly a heaviness, but it is a sense of reshaping, redefining, paring down and sharpening your vision for where you're headed, and maybe developing a structure for it, trying to figure out what that structure is. But many of you are going to have some kind of, now some people may find that they sign a contract that solidifies a job. So rather than something ending, it could just be a transformation through a contract. Sometimes Saturn, especially with business, can come in the form of a contract. So some people may be solidifying a type of position. So some people may find that they're accepting a job, accepting a certain change in responsibility. But there may also be this feeling of an ending. Often when you take on something new, something else ends. So there is like this swinging of a door, where you're going somewhere but also leaving something behind. And there is that sensation, I think, here with respect to a career. As you move toward one career, you have to leave a different one behind. Something like that. So, trying to think if there's anything else. So just remember to, in those first 3 weeks of December, to review, to kind of think, how did we end up here? Not with the sense of self, rebuke, but with a sense of honoring really how far you've come. Maybe you've really built something. A lot of you have taken on significant leadership. And I think to give yourself credit for this leadership ability that you've displayed, the ability to take on in a mature way something that maybe sometimes feels heavy, sometimes feeling restricted, like you haven't been given all the resources you need. Honor, if you've been able to deal with that situation, honor what you've been able to, deal with, and see how much you've matured in your career and kind of as a mature adult, which can also be symbolized at the top of the chart like this, a mature adult position. So pat yourself on the back. I think this review with Mercury retrograde is a good time to give yourself a pep talk. See what all the positives that you've accomplished as you move into this new phase, which is just going to be so unique for each one of you. If you're struggling with anything, you can get a reading or some coaching around it, because it's just going to be so unique for each one of you. I see some of you taking on bigger positions and like shaking hands, signing contracts, and feeling a sense of moving up. And then I see some of you like ending something and then having to completely rewire and rethink your whole future at first. And then you'll be in more of a building process. So it's just going to be very unique for each individual. So, but those themes apply. And if you want to hear more about Venus, also, impacting love, sometimes money, and possibly work, you can get the download on my website, www.freshastrology.com. Take care. Good night.